Could becoming a better storyteller make you more successful as a business? That might sound like a tall order, and no, I am not suggesting that you start to create larger than life expectations or promises or to begin exaggerating things as storytelling can sometimes be associated with. In fact, today I'm going to be talking about how to reimagine the way that you look at your brand, your customers, and how you communicate with your customers in a way that is going to be utilizing some of the foundations of story in a very different way. And we're going to be doing this through one of the most popular marketing and branding books around. It's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And not only are we going to talk about whether I would recommend this book, but some of the core concepts, how to apply them, and going through a fantastic example of a business that has really dialed this in to perfection and as a result has achieved immense success in an incredibly crowded marketplace. So if that sounds interesting to you, which I can't imagine why it wouldn't, then let's go ahead and dive into things. Hello, my name is Emma Schirmer-Tamir. I am the CEO and co-founder of Marketing by Emma, and we think about storytelling in a variety of different ways because of how we serve our clients. And I have a feeling that when you hear storytelling, you might be thinking of it in a very limited sense. A lot of times when brands hear story, what they are thinking is their origin story, their about. So how did we get to where we are today? And a lot of times that takes a really simple framework of, I saw a problem, no one else was doing it, so I decided to create it of my own. And while those kinds of stories can be quite effective, the concept of story can actually be much bigger than that. And today we're going to be talking about story more in a theoretical sense. So a way of being able to align certain characters, think about story arching throughout the journey that your customer is taking, and how we can utilize some of these different elements in order to be able to make all of our marketing and sales efforts more effective. So we're going to be looking more specifically at Donald Miller's StoryBrand framework, which has 7 fundamental elements of story. I wish I could hold up the book to show you right now, but I read it on my Kindle. I checked it out from the library. If you don't have a Libby or a library card and a Libby, I highly recommend you get that. Just as a little aside, I read a lot and it's a great free resource. So if you are wanting to dive into the world of marketing, branding, or really anything, then highly recommend. So back to the regularly scheduled program. You know what? Before we get into the 7 pieces of a story, let's talk about what story is and why it's so important. So story is really the way that we make sense of the world. So we are bombarded with so much information from so many different places all of the time. And story helps us simplify things. It helps us understand what we should be paying attention to. And it gives us a framework that we can work with. So story has been used to pass down important knowledge even before we had writing. And today, story is a great way for us to be able to simplify complex ideas into something that's really memorable, that will resonate with us on an emotional level, and that will stick with us. So being memorable is so important, especially when we are flooded by so much all the time. So now that we know why story is important, let's get into the StoryBrand framework, which, as I mentioned, has 7 pieces: your hero, your problem, the guide, the plan, the CTA, negative stakes and positive stakes. We also have a couple of bonus elements that can amplify things even further. We will get into those later. But first, let's just go through these 7 pieces and get a brief sense of what those are. So the hero. Now, this is actually where we have a really fundamental shift in how we're thinking about things, because by default, most of us will position the brand as the hero, and that is where you're going to make a really big mistake. Miller encourages us, and I would have to agree from all of my experience that I've had in the marketing space for such a long time, that the customer should be the hero of this story, not the brand. The customer is at the center. The customer is the one that's going to be going on this journey. The customer is the one that has the problem. So really allow that to sink in and to then influence how you are proceeding with the rest of this information. So your hero is your customer. If you don't have a customer avatar, now would be a great time to make one. If you do have a customer avatar, but you haven't looked at it for years, now would be a great time to revisit it. Your customer avatar is essentially a profile that really gets into the nitty-gritty of turning this amorphous blob of a general idea of who your customer might be into a very tangible, living, breathing human that you can speak directly to, that you can really start to get an understanding of how they feel and what they're experiencing. And with that, you can then tap into a deeper level and make more compelling marketing. So your customer avatar is essential. If you don't know how to do that, I have a video that details how to go about constructing that, whether you want to build it out yourself or get the help of AI. I will be sure to link that video in the eye and down below. So the problem is that thing that is influencing the customer to seek out a solution. So if you are selling a microphone. I don't know why. Microphones I think it's because it's sitting right in front of me. The microphone always becomes my example when I don't have one ready and loaded in my mind. But let's say that you're looking for a microphone. Now, what might be the problem? You have a microphone built into your computer, and maybe it is just not high enough quality to sound professional in the way that you would want it to be. So you need to understand what would be driving somebody to spend extra money to buy something that is already natively built into the device that they have. That is a fundamental part. And that's also, if you're thinking about story, all good stories, you meet the hero, you meet the main character, and then there's a problem, and that creates the whole plot line that then we're going to be venturing down to solve and arrive at our happy ending, at least if it's an American movie. We love our happy endings here in the United States. The guide. Now, the guide, think of Yoda in this situation, or that wise person, the friend, that person that is by the hero's side and is providing sage advice, guidance, and helping the hero along their journey. So the guide in this case is actually your brand. And that is another really strong shift, because it's not about positioning your brand as the solution to that problem, but rather the brand as an ally in working towards achieving a solution for the problem. So that's a very different way of looking at things. It's not as much of trying to force a solution as it is really in joining forces towards the same goals. I don't know if you're really sensing about how profound this is. So if, maybe let's just take a moment and let these two things sink in. Okay. Hopefully you took that moment and you didn't just speed up and speed onward. So the plan is what we need to do in order to solve this. So this, in the case of your brand, is going to be a little bit more of the nuts and bolts. So what they're going to need to do to purchase, how they're going to use that product, what are just the more straightforward steps that the customer is going to need to take. The CTA is essentially, directing them and saying, hey, this is what you need to do in order to be able to solve this problem. CTA stands for call to action. So that is the rallying cry, the thing that's saying, let's slay this dragon together. Again, we're not going against each other. We're not trying to show ourselves as a solution. We're both taking up our swords to fight this villain together. And the negative stakes and positive stakes are elements that can be added along the way to either show what can happen if they don't take action. So what might the negative consequences be if things were to continue as they were, or positive stakes are showing the great things that can happen in the event that they do decide to solve this problem and go into the bright, shiny, happily ever after together. So these are the 7 steps. Now, if you can't tell from the way that I'm talking about all of this, I find the StoryBrand framework to be really powerful and a really great exercise for businesses to use to be thinking about how to strategize really everything that you're doing. So this is something that can impact not only the copy on your website or the way that you're showing up on social media, but this can have very deep and potent impact on a lot of the different choices that you're making and any type of touch point that you might have with the customer. It is a really fantastic way of thinking about things and is a great tool for encouraging you to be thinking deeply about some of the foundational elements that you're going to need to really become a standout brand in your category. So I do highly recommend building a story brand. This is really just an overview of some of the main elements, but the book goes into detail and also links to external resources that can help you really work through and build out all of these different pieces to become assets for your business and something that you can share with your team and something that you can utilize and build upon as you strategize into the future. So definitely recommend this, one of the better books that I've read in the marketing space. But let's now look at an example, because I think this is really where it all starts to make a little bit more sense, because we've been talking in theoretical terms. It's like, okay, great, Emma. Yeah, sure. There's this brand and it's it's Star Wars and it's Luke Skywalker going to confront his, who he didn't realize father of Darth Vader. And I think I may seem like I know what I'm talking about with Star Wars. I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't. I don't really know why I got off on this tangent either, but let's get back to an example of what I see as a great story brand. And that is a company called Rare Beauty. Now, Rare Beauty is a brand that is partially founded by Selena Gomez. But what's unique, and just as a little bit of an aside that I think is worth talking about, is this is a very different celebrity brand than a lot of other celebrity brands that we see out there. Oftentimes when we see celebrity brands, the celebrity is really at the center. I told you that this was going to be off topic, but actually this is very much on topic. So essentially the celebrity becomes the hero of the brand. The celebrity is the aspirational figure that you are not buying the products because necessarily you like the products or you think they're effective, but you're buying the products because you like the celebrity or you want to be like the celebrity. So it's really reliant upon that relationship, and that the celebrity is the hero and the center and the aspirational figure. Now, what is unique about Rare Beauty is that, yes, Selena is definitely a part of their marketing, but she is not the center of it. Instead, she's really obviously a visionary, and it is a representation of some of her values as a person and the way that we've seen her show up in the world. But the brand is so much more than that. So we see a lot of different people showing up in her marketing. We see a whole variety of different choices that her business has made, and they are not all centered around her. So rather than putting the brand and the celebrity as the hero, they are very much the guide. The customer is the hero. And what I see them positioning, the problem is our really outdated beauty standards and the way that many beauty companies market as there's something wrong with you, fix it and make yourself better through makeup. And instead, all of the products that they're launching, the way that they market their products, even the names that they choose and the decisions that they make as a business are really centered around highlighting everybody's unique beauty and recognizing that everyone has something special that makes them unique. And so it's a very inclusive brand. Their packaging is designed in a very inclusive way so that people that do not have full mobility can still easily open their packaging. So there are a lot of really thoughtful details. They also donate a percentage of all sales to helping with organizations that support different mental health initiatives, which is something that is definitely a part of Selena's brand, but also very aligned with the core problem, solution, mission of the brand. That's also an example of positive stakes. So that means that's something that is improving, giving extra benefit to making a purchase, is knowing that a percentage of your sale is going to a good cause. Something I mentioned that there might be some power-ups that we talk about, and one of those is a concept called a brand enemy. So just like you would imagine, it's something, someone, some idea that is going against your goals as a business, or rather the customer's goals, maybe trying to stop them from solving their problem. If you want to know all about how to leverage brand enemies, I have a video all about this, which I will link in the eye and down below. It's a really powerful tool. So in their case, the enemy is this notion of what beauty is and who's making you feel anything less than beautiful. And even just looking at their website, what makes us rare? Together, we're building a safe, welcoming space in beauty and beyond. This is makeup made to feel good in without hiding what makes you unique. So they're really talking about how to emphasize what makes you special rather than just blending in and being like everyone else. If we continue on their website, make an impact on mental health. 1% of annual sales go directly to the Rare Impact Fund to expand mental health services in underserved communities. So they're really specific about where that's going to. And it is just a fantastic example of the positive stakes that I mentioned. What I find so fascinating about them is they've even taken this through into the names of their products. So if we're looking, for example, at their soft pinch liquid blush, their shades like hope, bliss, virtue, worth, encourage, believe. So all of those words, all of those names of the shades are really in alignment with how they are presenting themselves as a brand and how they are relating to the customer and making the customer the hero. Now, something that they've clearly really put a lot of effort into. And I think one reason why they are so effective with this is it's not just about following this framework of putting the customer as the hero and the brand as the guide, but they have a really clear understanding of who their customers are and also who their brand is. And that is going to take all of this framework, these 7 pieces of that the StoryBrand, building a StoryBrand talks about, and really elevate them to the next level. So if you haven't taken the time to build out a brand identity, I will link a video that goes into detail about how to do that, because of course you can do this without it, but it will be much stronger if you add that depth of knowledge and clarity into what you are doing. Some other parts of their plan, their reasonable price points. They've purposefully chosen to make the product accessible. It's not overly expensive. I talked about the accessible packaging. That's also a positive stakes, as well as the fact that they are available at Sephora. So where you can actually go to buy them, or on their own website, or on TikTok Shop. So they make it very clear where you can get this product and how to buy it and how to add it into your life. So this is what what it looks like to really refocus how you tell your stories and how you position your brand in a way that is going to celebrate the customer and always make them feel seen and heard and understood, and like you are their ally. Like you are not just trying to force a solution upon them or trying to figure out a way to take some of their hard-earned money, but that you are working with them to help them achieve their goals, that you are really the obvious extension of that choice to get from point A, where they currently are, to point B, where they want to go. And so if you are wanting to figure out how to do all of that, I would definitely recommend that you check out the Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And also, just as a little bit of homework, go and build out that customer avatar if you haven't already. Build out that brand identity and watch whatever YouTube is recommending to you next. Plus, be sure to like if you enjoyed this content, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.